Serafina Hamilton was feeling her mother-in-law Rosalind's cold gaze piercing her back. That unique seasoning again, I see. Rosalind's words drew knowing chuckles from the family. Her husband spoke with nostalgia. Mother's cooking was always the best. While his sister muttered, Mom's cooking is, well, it's unique, I guess. That night, as Serafina washed dishes alone, she stared intently at her own hands. No one knew. No one knew that these hands had once been in the spotlight of that place. And now, she was quietly beginning her preparations to execute a certain plan without anyone noticing. November afternoon. Serafina Hamilton was preparing the Thanksgiving turkey in the kitchen. 20 years of marriage, and every year at this time, the same scene repeated itself. But this year, something was different. Oh, Serafina. She turned to find her mother-in-law Rosalind standing there. Somehow she had entered the house and was staring intently at Serafina's hands. In that gaze, instead of the usual loving grandmother's expression, there was something cold, as if she were appraising her. Welcome, Rosalind. I'll have tea ready soon. Serafina hastily wiped her hands and turned around, but Rosalind didn't move. Instead, her eyes were fixed on the turkey. Again this year, that unique seasoning of yours. The tone was gentle, but Serafina sensed something lurking beneath those words. Unique, what do you mean by that? Oh no. I don't mean it in a bad way, Serafina. Rosalind smiled, but the smile didn't reach her eyes. It's just that it's a little different from the traditional Hamilton family taste. Serafina's hands stopped moving. Hamilton family tradition. Words she had heard countless times since her marriage. But what that tradition actually meant, she still didn't quite understand. On the kitchen counter, several cookbooks that Serafina treasured were stacked. Among them, an old certificate peeked out slightly. The words, Culinary School Graduation Certificate, were visible. But Rosalind hadn't noticed it. Or perhaps she had noticed but was ignoring it. I've been trying my best to make it well. Of course, Serafina. I can see you're making an effort. Rosalind smiled kindly. But cooking isn't just about technique. If there's no heart in it, no matter how much care you put in. The words trailed off. But the words that should have followed hung heavily in the air. Dinner time. The family gathered around the dining table as usual. Her husband Ethan, 16-year-old daughter Aurora, 13-year-old son Felix, and Rosalind. This Thanksgiving reminds me of Mother's cooking. Ethan's casual comment made Serafina's chopsticks stop. His face was peaceful, showing no apparent malice. But those words definitely pierced her heart. But Mom's cooking is delicious too. Felix hastily tried to help, but his words only made the situation worse. It sounded as if he was speaking on the premise that his mother's cooking was not delicious. That's right. Mom's cooking is unique, Aurora said with a smile. But that word unique was the same one her grandmother had used earlier. Serafina nodded silently. During the meal, she barely spoke. Instead, she listened to her family's conversation. Rosalind began telling old stories. Stories of Ethan's childhood, the dishes he used to love, and tales of Rosalind's own culinary skills. Ethan was so fond of my apple pie, he used to brag about it to his friends. Mother's apple pie really was delicious. Ethan smiled nostalgically. Serafina wanted to mention that she had made apple pie too, but the words wouldn't come. After dinner, Serafina was washing dishes alone. Through the kitchen window, she could see winter's approach creeping into the garden. Good work. Ethan called out from behind her. Thank you. A short reply. Usually, their conversation would continue longer, but tonight was different. What's wrong? You seem down. Nothing, it's nothing. Serafina answered without turning around. But in her heart, various thoughts were swirling. That night, after the family had gone to sleep, Serafina retrieved a box from the depths of her bedroom closet. Inside lay a single faded trophy, resting quietly. National Cooking Contest winner. As she traced the engraved letters with her finger, Serafina let out a deep sigh. How many years had passed since then? When she got married, she withdrew from the culinary world. She chose to become an ordinary housewife for her family's sake. But now, she wasn't sure if that choice had been the right one. Returning the trophy to the box, Serafina gazed out the window. The following day, the same routine would continue. However, she could feel that something was beginning to change. It was still just a small sense of unease. But she had no way of knowing that this very unease would become the starting point that would greatly change her life. A week after Thanksgiving, Serafina was heading to the community center cooking class. She had been asked by Ethan to deliver ingredients that Rosalind had forgotten. "Mother's looking forward to it, so please take care of it." Remembering Ethan's words, Serafina entered the building with heavy steps. In the cooking class, Rosalind was serving as instructor as usual. Around her, more than 10 local housewives had gathered. Without proper basics, no matter how expensive the ingredients you use, it's all pointless. Rosalind's voice echoed through the classroom. Serafina stopped at the entrance. That voice carried something authoritative in addition to its usual elegance. After all, cooking is something passed down from mother to daughter. I too learned so much from my late mother. One of the students raised her hand. "Rosalind, how is your son's wife's cooking? She always seems to make such delicious-looking dishes." Serafina's heart jumped. She didn't miss how Rosalind's expression hardened for a moment. "Oh, is that so?" Rosalind forced a bitter smile. "Certainly, they look elaborate. But cooking isn't just about appearance. Without heart, no matter how much care you put in, it won't reach the family's hearts." At that moment, Serafina appeared at the classroom entrance. Several students turned around and noticed her. "Oh, Serafina." Rosalind's voice rang out brightly, but her eyes showed a flash of confusion. "Rosalind, I brought the ingredients." Serafina held out the bag. But Rosalind didn't reach for it. "My, you've come at just the right time. Could you show everyone some basic knife skills?" The air grew tense. All the students' gazes turned to Serafina at once. She was confused. "But don't be modest. Teach everyone the basics of home cooking." Rosalind's voice carried an undeniable strength. Serafina reluctantly stood at the cooking station. The knife handed to her was heavier than what she usually used, with poor balance. But the moment she gripped the knife, something changed. Serafina's hand movements became fluid, as if she were a different person. She sliced onions into perfect thin pieces and julienned carrots evenly. Her technique was truly that of a professional. "Amazing." One student gasped. "Just like a restaurant chef. Where did you learn that?" As praise rose around her, Rosalind's face went pale. But she quickly regained her smile. "Well, anyone can do it with practice," Rosalind said loudly. "But cooking isn't just about technique. The most important thing is love and tradition. No matter how skillfully you can cut, it's meaningless if there's no heart in it." Serafina's hands stopped. Those words were clearly directed at her. Another student agreed. "After all, there's such a thing as grandmother's cooking and mother's cooking." Exactly. New techniques are fine, but nothing beats traditional home cooking. Serafina silently put down the knife. The surrounding conversation sounded as if it were denying her very existence. "Thank you, Serafina." Rosalind smiled at her, but the smile was cold. "Now then, everyone, let's try it my way." This way of holding the knife has been passed down through the Hamilton family for generations. On the way home, Serafina was crying in her car. Her hands gripping the steering wheel were trembling. Why did showcasing her skills make her feel so miserable? Why did being praised feel so humiliating instead? The answer was clear. No matter how skilled she was, no matter how hard she tried, she was an outsider. She was forever excluded from Hamilton family tradition. Her smartphone buzzed. A message from Ethan. Mother contacted me. She said you helped out at the cooking class. Thank you. But it might be better not to stand out too much. Mother probably wants to save face too. Serafina stared at the screen, unable to move for a while. Her husband also didn't understand her true worth. When she got home, the children were doing homework. Mom, welcome back. Felix turned around. How was Grandma's cooking class? Aurora asked. Nothing special, it was ordinary. Serafina answered briefly. She didn't feel like telling the truth. That night, while preparing dinner, Serafina was thinking. She would never cook in front of people again. No matter how much she was asked, she would never show her skills again. But deep in her heart, another emotion was beginning to sprout. It was anger. Why should she have to hide? Why should she be ashamed of her talent? From the kitchen drawer, Serafina took out a photograph. It was a picture taken with her classmates from culinary school. Had she been this small back then? Looking at the photograph, Serafina quietly steeled her resolve. She didn't know what she would do yet. But she couldn't end it like this. No one knew of her determination yet. 3 days after the cooking class incident, Serafina was casually browsing her smartphone. As usual, she was checking the local mom's Facebook group when one post caught her eye. The poster was Rosalind. I have something to consult with everyone about. I'm troubled about my son's wife's cooking. Recently, she's been making only dishes with strange seasonings and unfamiliar foods, and the children seem confused too. I believe a mother's love is most important in cooking, but what do you all think? Serafina's hands trembled. The post already had nearly 20 likes and sympathetic comments. I understand your feelings completely. Traditional home cooking is the best, isn't it? The younger generation tends to care only about appearance and makes heartless food. I feel sorry for your grandchildren. Each comment deeply wounded Serafina's heart. And the most painful thing was wondering what the local people who saw this post would think of her. Worse still, the post continued. Actually, at the cooking class the other day, I had her show everyone how to use a knife, and her technique was certainly skillful. But something was still different. Cooking is about heart, not technique. The comment section became even more lively. Being skillful in technique alone is meaningless, isn't it? She must have learned it somewhere. It's different from home cooking, after all. Serafina stared at the screen, feeling tears stream down her cheeks. But this humiliation was only the beginning. That evening, Ethan accidentally sent a voice message to the family WhatsApp group. What was meant for a friend was mistakenly sent to the family group chat. Actually, I'm a bit troubled by my wife's cooking. The kids don't seem to want to eat it much lately either. They're used to mother's cooking, so I guess it can't be helped. Yesterday, Aurora said, Grandma's cooking tastes better. Honestly, we've been eating out more lately. The kids are happier that way than eating at home. The moment the message played, Serafina's world collapsed. Her husband was complaining about her cooking to a friend. And apparently, even the children disliked her cooking. Hastily, a deletion message came from Ethan. Sorry, sent that by mistake. Don't worry about it. But it was too late. Aurora and Felix had heard the message too. Dinner time. The family gathered around the table as usual. But tonight's atmosphere was different. Everyone was conscious of that voice message. "What did you make today?" Ethan asked in an unnaturally bright voice. "Chicken and tomato stew," Serafina answered quietly. But the family's reaction was cold. "Looks delicious," Felix said, but his voice lacked energy. He felt sorry that his mother had found out he disliked her cooking. "I'm not very hungry today," Aurora said in a small voice. She too felt awkward. Serafina continued eating in silence. All her family members barely touched her cooking. The dinner table, usually filled with more conversation, was wrapped in silence. After the meal, Serafina stood alone in the kitchen. As she cleaned up the barely touched food, she thought about her life. For 20 years, she had continued cooking for her family. When the children were small, they used to say, "Mom's cooking is delicious." But at some point, she stopped hearing those words. And now, she knew the truth. No one in the family really thought her cooking was delicious. Her husband complained to friends, and the children had just been enduring it. Her smartphone buzzed again. This time, it was a private message from a local mom friend. "I saw Rosalind's post. That must be difficult. If there's anything I can help with, please let me know." But Serafina could sense the subtle mixture of sympathy and curiosity in that message too. That night, lying in bed, Serafina stared at the ceiling. Beside her, Ethan tossed and turned apologetically. "Serafina, about that message earlier. It's fine. But it's the truth, isn't it? You and the children think my cooking isn't delicious. That's all there is to it." Ethan couldn't say anything. Because that was the truth. But in Serafina's heart, another emotion was quietly burning. It was deep anger, and strangely, a sense of liberation. There was no need to hide anymore. No need to hold back anymore. If her family didn't appreciate her cooking, that was fine. But she still had a truth that no one knew about. The trophy hidden in the depths of the closet. The graduation certificate stored in the drawer. And her true self, sealed away for so many years. She had a premonition that something would change starting tomorrow. Even Serafina herself didn't know what kind of change it would be. But there was one thing she was certain of. She would no longer live diminished in front of anyone. A week after the humiliation on social media, Serafina received an email. It was a request to serve as a judge at the region's largest cooking festival. The participation would be anonymous, with only the organizers knowing her identity. "Serafina, it's been a long time. This year, we would especially like to ask you to be the judge. I think this would be an excellent opportunity to show your talent to the local people. What do you think?" The sender was Catalina Belmont, the principal of her culinary school and her former mentor. She had always regretted that Serafina had withdrawn from the culinary world after marriage. Serafina stared at the screen for a long time. Then she quietly pressed the reply button. "I accept. However, please keep my identity secret until the very end." The day of the festival. Local television cameras had entered the venue, and a live broadcast was scheduled. Serafina concealed herself with a mask and sunglasses, sitting in the judging seat as a special judge. Catalina sat beside her with a small smile. "Are you ready?" "Yes. But honestly, I'm nervous." "It's all right. With your ability, you'll surely be able to give fair evaluations." Many local residents packed the audience seats. Among them was her mother-in-law Rosalind. She had appeared at the venue as a participant again this year, full of confidence. "I'm sure to win again this year." Rosalind's boastful voice to an acquaintance reached Serafina's ears. 3 consecutive wins, after all. Amazing. After all, nothing beats traditional home cooking. The people around seemed to have no doubt about Rosalind's victory. The judging began. Serafina carefully tasted each dish. The food made with love by the local housewives was all wonderful, filled with the warmth of home. This participant shows wonderful basic technique. When Serafina evaluated one participant, Catalina nodded. That's a precise judgment, just like you. A true palate is indeed different. Then came Rosalind's turn. What she had brought was a traditional beef stew. The moment Serafina brought the spoon to her mouth, her expression changed. This sauce was clearly a commercial one. Moreover, the meat was unevenly cooked, and the vegetables were roughly cut. What do you think of this dish? The host asked. Serafina hesitated for a moment, but her professional integrity won out. Unfortunately, this sauce appears to be based on a commercial product. Also, in terms of cooking technique, I don't believe it reaches contest level. The venue buzzed. Rosalind's face went pale. Excuse me, but who are you? What is the basis for making such a specialized judgment? Rosalind raised her voice. But Serafina remained calm. I'm sorry, but the judges' identities cannot be revealed as yet. However, I am confident that my judgment is correct. Catalina quietly spoke up. I guarantee it. Our judges certainly hold professional qualifications. The other judges were also paying attention to Serafina's professional comments. Indeed, this sauce does taste like a commercial product. I think the comment about the cooking technique is also accurate. One by one, judges began to agree with Serafina's opinion. The judging continued. Serafina gave precise and constructive advice about the other participants' dishes. She especially praised a pasta dish made by a young housewife as a wonderful dish that shows professional technique. The balance of acidity in this tomato sauce is exquisite. The pasta is cooked perfectly. This wouldn't be embarrassing even if served in a restaurant. The young housewife was moved to tears. Thank you so much. Actually, I was trying to use what I learned at culinary school. Your efforts have paid off. You have wonderful talent. At Serafina's words, loud applause erupted from the venue. Meanwhile, Rosalind was glaring at the judges' table. Her face was flushed with the humiliation of having her cooking severely criticized and anger at the mysterious judge. Who is that judge? Must be a chef from some restaurant. But to criticize Rosalind's cooking that harshly. Murmurs arose in the audience seats as well. No one had expected Rosalind, the 3-time consecutive winner, to receive such harsh evaluation. During the judging, television cameras were filming Serafina. Though her face couldn't be seen behind the mask and sunglasses, her professional comments and sure palate made a strong impression on viewers. This masked judge has incredible knowledge, the TV commentator said excitedly. It's like the judgment of a professional chef. I wonder who it could be. The final judging ended, and the time for the results announcement was approaching. Catalina nodded slightly towards Serafina. Are you ready? Yes. The time has finally come. In the audience seats, Ethan and the children sat with tense expressions. They still didn't know that this masked judge was Serafina. Rosalind was trembling with anxiety and anger. If she failed to win this time, her position in the community would be greatly shaken. But Serafina's heart was calmer than ever before. The time had finally come to release her true self, which had been sealed away for so long. The host gripped the microphone for the results announcement. The atmosphere in the venue grew tense. And the moment of destiny was about to arrive. The host gripped the microphone, and the venue's lighting became even brighter. Television cameras focused on the judges' table. Everyone, before announcing the results, we would like to introduce the special judge we invited today. The venue buzzed. Rosalind in the audience leaned forward. Catalina stood up and took the microphone. Everyone, today we have seen a wonderful array of dishes. And this time, we have a very special judge with us. Serafina's heart pounded violently. Finally, the moment had arrived. This is the winner of the national cooking contest from 15 years ago, who currently develops menus for multiple high-end restaurants under anonymity. For everyone in the community, this person is very close to you. Catalina looked at Serafina. Serafina nodded quietly and slowly stood up. We welcome Serafina Hamilton. Serafina's hand moved toward her mask. The venue fell silent. Television cameras focused on her. The moment the mask was removed, the venue gasped. It's Serafina Hamilton. The host's voice echoed through the venue. Surprised voices rose from the audience seats. Ethan's face in the audience turned completely pale. His daughter Aurora, sitting beside him, muttered, "No way," while his son Felix hung his head in embarrassment. That's Mom. Felix's voice trembled. The surrounding audience began whispering as they looked at them. Are those children the Hamilton family? To think they disliked such a talented mother's cooking. Poor children, not understanding their mother's worth. Aurora's face turned bright red and she tried to stand up. But surrounded by stares, she couldn't move. Then Rosalind stood up from her chair. Her face was twisted with humiliation and anger. Wait just a minute. Rosalind shouted loudly. The venue buzzed. That's a lie. How can she be a cooking expert? That's impossible. I've been watching her cooking for 20 years. While the host looked confused, Serafina's past glory was displayed on the large screen. Her valedictorian certificate from culinary school, the moment of victory at the national contest, and testimonial videos from restaurants she currently works with. Serafina's recipes tripled our restaurant's sales. A high-end restaurant's owner chef testified. Without her, our success would have been impossible. She's famous in the industry as a hidden genius. Rosalind's face went pale. But she didn't give up. That must all be fake. If Serafina was such a good cook, why didn't any of our family members know? At that moment, a voice rose from one corner of the venue. That's because you refuse to acknowledge her, isn't it? One of the cooking class students stood up. We realized that Serafina's knife skills were extraordinary. But you always said she lacks basics and there's no love in it. That's right, we all sensed it too. Another student continued. But because you kept saying technique alone isn't enough and tradition is important, no one could speak up. Rosalind looked around with a desperate expression. But I won 3 years in a row. I'm definitely better. Catalina stood up with a stern expression. Rosalind, we judged your cooking today. You used commercial sauce, and your basic cooking techniques were insufficient. Your previous victories were simply because there was no real competition. Ah. Rosalind looked like she wanted to escape from the venue. Furthermore, Catalina continued. I also saw the post slandering Serafina on social media. That was shameful behavior as an educator, no, as a human being. Rosalind's Facebook posts appeared on the television screen. Viewers began posting real-time comments. What a terrible mother-in-law. Trying to crush a talented person is the worst. To think such a person was a community leader. Rosalind cried out. Why is everyone taking Serafina's side? Why are you making me the villain? But no one was listening to her words anymore. Ethan hung his head in shame. The surrounding audience whispered as they looked at them. Her husband didn't understand his wife's talent at all either. Complaining to friends about her, that's the worst. I heard the children were even calling their mother's cooking bad. Aurora stood up crying. Mom, I'm sorry. We were really terrible to you. But Serafina quietly raised her hand. I don't need any apologies. Her voice echoed to every corner of the venue. Until now, I desperately tried to get everyone's approval. But that was wrong. I will live for myself, and for those who truly understand me. Rosalind made one last desperate attempt. But we're family. Not exactly related by blood, but we're family. Serafina turned around. Her eyes no longer held their former gentleness, but were filled with calm determination. If we were truly family, we should have respected each other more. But it's too late now. The host continued with the results announcement. Rosalind's dish naturally came in last place, while the young housewife's pasta dish won magnificently. Large applause erupted from the venue. But the gazes directed at the Hamilton family members were cold. Harsh comments flooded in from viewers watching the live television broadcast. The family is terrible. A typical example of crushing talented people. That family need to reflect on many things. That night, the local news was dominated by this incident. However, the focus of discussion was not on Serafina's talent, but on her family's cruelty. Serafina's life would change dramatically from this day forward. She would never again live in someone's shadow. Her long silence had finally come to an end. And her new life living as her true self was about to begin. 1 month after the cooking festival, Serafina's life has changed as if she were in a different world. She now works as an instructor at the local culinary school. In the same classroom where she had once studied, she now faces students from the teaching perspective. The most important thing in cooking is not technique or tradition. It's being honest with yourself. Serafina spoke to her students. In the classroom, women of various ages listened intently. Among them was the young housewife who had won the cooking festival. After class, the woman expressed her gratitude to Serafina. I've gained confidence thanks to you. What you had from the beginning was talent and effort. I simply acknowledged it. Serafina smiled. She felt the joy of teaching anew. Meanwhile, at her former home, major changes have occurred. Rosalind has disappeared since that day. Having completely lost her standing in the community, she had reportedly sought refuge with relatives out of state due to embarrassment. Dad, won't Mom make dinner today? Felix asked his father Ethan. Well, let's order pizza again. Ethan answered with an exhausted expression. Since Serafina left, he has painfully realized how difficult housework was. Unable to cook, he continued a life dependent on eating out and delivery. Dad, let's ask Mom to come back. Aurora suggested. But Ethan shook his head. She has become someone living in a different world than us now. Indeed, Serafina had begun living alone in a new apartment. It was simple, but it was a space that was truly hers. The kitchen was smaller than her previous home, but the food she cooked there was more delicious than ever. On the weekend, Serafina had a visitor. It was Catalina. How is your new life? Very fulfilling. I finally feel like I'm living as my true self. Serafina answered while making tea. Actually, I have something to discuss. Catalina's expression became serious. There's an offer for a visiting professor position from a prestigious culinary school in New York. I'd very much like you to accept it. Serafina's hands stopped. In New York, you mean? Yes. I want you to showcase your talent on a national level. Also, I hear there's an offer for a regular show from Food Network. It was like a dream come true for her. But it also meant facing a major decision. That night, Serafina stood alone on her balcony. Looking at the night view, she reflected on her life so far. For 20 years, she had sacrificed herself for her family. But what she gained in return was loneliness without understanding. Messages arrived on her smartphone from her children. Mom, are you well? We really love you. Seeing you looking happy now makes me happy too. It was from Felix. Mom, you don't have to forgive us. But seeing you living as yourself makes me want to try harder too. It was from Aurora. Tears welled up in Serafina's eyes. They were not tears of sadness, but tears of relief. The following week, Serafina held a special class at the culinary school. The theme was, "What is authentic cooking?" For a long time, I lost myself trying to meet others' expectations. She spoke to her students. But cooking is originally meant to express the heart of the person making it. It's important to find your own unique taste, not to imitate someone else. After class, an elderly woman approached her. I've been criticizing my daughter-in-law's cooking for so long. But after hearing today's talk, I realized I was wrong. Serafina smiled gently. It's never too late to realize what's right. What's important is what you do from now on. The woman nodded while crying. That night, Serafina made her final decision about the New York offer. She called Catalina. I'll accept it. I want to try a new challenge. That's a wonderful decision. I'm sure women across the nation will gain courage from you. After hanging up, Serafina placed new flowers by the window. White gerberas. As a symbol of new beginnings. She smiled quietly. Tomorrow, a new life would begin again. This time, without holding back for anyone, as her true self. On the kitchen counter lay the contract from the New York Culinary School and the program proposal from Food Network. Her name was already signed in the signature field without hesitation. Serafina Hamilton. That name is no longer something to be hidden from anyone. And from now on, it would become known to television viewers nationwide. Outside the window, the wind of a new season was blowing. Serafina took a deep breath and filled her lungs with that wind. For the first time in her 45 years of life, she felt truly free. The price she paid to obtain this freedom was by no means cheap. But now, she had not the slightest regret about it. Because she could finally live as herself. The next morning, Serafina began packing. As preparation for her new life in New York. And she made a firm vow in her heart never to return to her past self. Her new story was about to begin. Viewers across the nation would witness her courageous decision. The name Serafina Hamilton would soon be known in households across America. And it would bring a ray of hope to women in similar circumstances.